and welcome to today's assembly, which is a short assembly all about advertising. So let's start with question. What is advertising? Advertising is a means of communication with the users of a product or service. So advertisements are made by companies which are trying to sell their product or service to you, the consumer. Companies are businesses which are profit driven, which means that they want to earn money. And how do they do that? They do that by selling their product to the consumer. So the better they can advertise their product, the more money they can make. I have a question for you. Where can you find advertising in your daily life? And when you think about this question, I would like you to think about old-fashioned types of advertising, like this old-fashioned poster here for a sewing machine, a Singer sewing machine, and also think about more modern platforms for advertisements such as social media. This is a screen grab of someone's Facebook page. So pause this video and jot down a few different places where you think you might find advertising. I've written a short list here of some places where you might find advertisements, although it's non-exhaustive list. So there are many more places where you can find advertisements. On TV, you might see commercials, which is just an American word for advertisements. Bus stops, posters, billboards on the sides of roads, magazines. I've picked up a magazine here. This is the National Geographic magazine, which is a magazine about nature. Let me stop screen sharing just for a moment. Here's the magazine. And if you flick open the magazine, you can see there's an advertisement here by a travel company advertising a trip to India. And it makes sense that a magazine about nature and the world and traveling has a travel advertisement in it, because the companies obviously want to advertise in places where they think that people who buy their product might read. So it makes sense that someone who's interested in nature would like to go to India. On the back cover of this magazine, we see a picture of a famous actor whose name is Leonardo DiCaprio, and this company is trying to use someone famous to advertise their product, which is a watch, hoping that some people might be influenced by that and therefore more likely to buy their product. So back to screen share. You might also find advertising in social media. Today, more and more you find advertisements on social media because so many people are on it, and it's a really easy way to target people's minds and try and persuade them to buy a company's product. If you listen to the radio, you will have advertisements hear them on the radio as well, apart from the BBC radio channels, which don't have advertisements because they are partially run by the government, so it's not as profit driven. YouTube, which is just another social media platform that you're all familiar with. And you'll be watching this video on YouTube right now. You might see along the side of the screen, there's some other videos alongside, but you might also see some advertisements, and that's how YouTube makes money, by getting companies to pay them to advertise on their platform. You might find advertisements in video games, on Facebook, on TikTok, or on Instagram. Now, it's important to understand that advertising can be both obvious and non-obvious. Sometimes an advertisement is really in your face and it's very clear what they're trying to sell you. However, sometimes advertising can be much more subtle, much more subconscious. So the branding and the company that is trying to sell you their product might be trying to access your memory in your brain in a much more subtle way. And as an example, I've got two pictures here of an example where subconscious and subtle advertising was used. This is a picture of the band called Queen that were very, very big in the 80s and are still very popular today. This is their lead singer, Freddie Mercury. Or this is actually him depicted him in a movie. And this concert happened in 1985. It was called Live Aid, and it was the biggest concert that had ever happened up till that date. How many people watched it? 1.6 billion people watched this one concert over TV. And who can spot the subliminal advertising in this picture? We can see a Pepsi cup placed on the piano that 1.6 billion people were watching. There's about 7 billion people on the globe, so think about that as a fraction. Do we think that this cup was placed here by coincidence? No, this has been very intentionally placed there, and I imagine Pepsi paid Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of this band, a lot of money in order to place it there so that they could advertise their product, knowing that 1.6 billion people would watch this concert. So, logos are also a form of advertising or branding. None of these logos have the name of their company under them, but you instantly recognize what the company is, and that shows you that their branding is so effective, and a lot of it happens subliminally, so subconsciously, without you realizing it. Pause this video for a moment and see whether you can link the brand logo with the name of the company, and I'll tell you the answers in a moment. These two apples here are from the company Apple. This Shell logo is for the oil and gas company Shell. These two circles are for MasterCard, a credit card company. This F is for Facebook. This circle here is for Google Chrome. This is Reebok, a sports brand. This is YouTube. This is the famous Nike tick. This blue bird is Twitter, and that M is for McDonald's, and this square is Instagram. I actually don't know what this symbol is. Maybe someone can tell me. I recognize it, but I can't quite remember the company name. Okay, I have a little activity for you here. I would like you to find an advertisement, and it can be anything. It can be in a magazine, in a newspaper, something you find online, or it can be something from the radio or TV. And I'd like to ask yourself a few questions. Who is the target audience? Young, old, male, female? What kind of demographic does the target audience belong to? In this advertisement, we can see it's by Disney for Disneyland Paris. I think the target audience here are young children. We see this is an advertisement by Fabletics, which is a sports clothes company. Their target audience, it looks here, are maybe 20 to 30-year-old women who like exercising. And moving on to the next question I'd like you to ask yourself. Do you think it is effective? Do you think this advertisement is effective in persuading consumers to buy the product? Let's look at this advertisement here. I think we all know who this company is. It's McDonald's, and it's telling us that this burger costs $2. Is it effective? I think it probably is quite effective. Telling you it's cheap doesn't necessarily tell you that it's good or that it's healthy for you, but it's probably quite effective advertising. Do you think it is subtle or obvious? So this is an interesting advertisement here. It's by Perrier Water, which is sparkling water brand. And I would say this is actually quite a subtle advertisement. They're using subtle colours, pastel colours, the actual Perrier bottle here, you can hardly even make out the logo. It's quite artistic. It's not in your face. And sometimes that might actually be more effective than something that is very in your face and very obvious, because it depends on who your target audience is. It's quite an expensive type of sparkling water. Maybe the target audience has a bit more money to spend on sparkling water rather than just drinking tap water. So maybe a more subtle type of advertisement might be more effective here. And finally, do you think that your advertisement gets the right message across? So I think this Disneyland advertisement definitely gets the right message across. They're trying to make the audience excited about going to Disneyland, and they've captured that here with this girl's face who's looking in wonder, and the slogan is "See it, believe it." It's really trying to persuade you to go to Disneyland, to see it and to believe it. And the colors are exciting. I think that probably gets the message across that Disneyland would want, which is what they would want the audience to go and visit. So these are some questions you can ask for the advertisement that you find. Next question. What are cookies? I think we all know what these types of delicious cookies are. However, there's a different type of cookie that it is important to know about, which is the cookies we find in the internet and on our computers. So, have you ever Googled something, for example, elephants, and then, or maybe let's go with flowers, Googled flowers. Next time you log on to Google or YouTube, you get lots of advertisements for flowers. That's because the computer has logged your data from your previous search and knows what you're interested in. When you visit a site that uses cookies for the first time, a cookie is downloaded onto your PC. The site then knows that you have been there before, and in some cases tailors what pops up on screen to take account of that fact. So everything you do on the internet leaves a footprint. What is an algorithm? It's very similar to cookies. In fact, I think cookies are a type of algorithm. Have you ever, for example, gone down a bit of a YouTube rabbit hole, for example, in YouTubing funny cat videos? Click on one video, then the next one pops up, the next one pops up, and they're all really funny and similar cat videos. It's not just a coincidence. When you look at one video, an algorithm is used. YouTube, Google, all of these internet companies collect a lot of data about what videos people enjoy watching. So they know that if you liked that cat video, you will almost certainly also enjoy watching this other cat video, because 100,000 other people have also clicked on this other cat video. So they know what you will like to see, and that hooks you in, and that's how you kind of get trapped going down a YouTube rabbit hole, as we call them. It also works on a Facebook newsfeed. So we have what people call echo chambers. So for example, if you were a Donald Trump supporter and you loved reading articles about Donald Trump, you loved watching videos about him that support him, Facebook knows every time you click on one of those videos, Facebook notes that data down, and the algorithm makes sure that it sends you similar articles and videos and photos and memes, so that your whole Facebook newsfeed suddenly keeps backing up all this pro-Trump information. If, for example, you were a pro-Trump supporter, it works for any other type of thing. It works, for example, Facebook knows that if you like one cat video, they will start filling your newsfeed up with more cat videos. That's how algorithms work. And that is how people get into what are called echo chambers, because you keep having information fed to you that Facebook knows you like reading. So it can be dangerous, because it means politically that you only get the kind of news you like reading, and you don't read a broad range of different types of news from the political spectrum. Finally, advertising on social media. On Instagram and TikTok and other social media platforms, it is now compulsory to say whether or not you are sponsored. So if you were an Instagrammer and you were paid money to post a picture of you holding the latest amazing vitamin juice, you would have to say that it is sponsored or do a hashtag ad. So people know that you are not necessarily drinking and holding that juice because it is amazing, but because you are being paid to do so. So that's a quick whiz through advertising. It's not compulsory to post on Seesaw, but it would be interesting to see any of your thoughts on any advertisements that you find. I hope you found that helpful. And if you have any more questions about anything that I've said, feel free to email me or write to me on Seesaw. Thanks, Year 6.